Hey guys and girls, welcome back by a new video on my channel. Today we're gonna talk about episode 5 of Ahsoka. So if you haven't watched it and you don't want to have any spoilers, then you can better just leave the video. But let's get started. I think all of you remember what happens in the ending of episode 4, and that is that Anakin and Ahsoka were meeting in a world between worlds after Ahsoka lost the lightsaber fights, and that is why the episode starts, episode 5, and Anakin and Ahsoka have their little talk, and I thought it was really sweet, honestly. And I thought the CGI, or like the de-aging they did on Anakin, looked much better in this episode. I honestly don't know what they did. I probably would say they just de-aged Hayden Christensen a little, because he definitely looked younger than he actually does in real life. I mean, Hayden Christensen still looks pretty young, but you know, he's not in his early 20s anymore. And I think like even Clone Wars Anakin was around 19 or maybe early 20s. I think he was like 19 or 20 in Attack of the Clones, if I'm pretty sure. So you cannot expect Hayden Christensen, who is in his early 40s, to be looking like a teenager or early 20s, but he's still looking pretty good for his age. Having said that, we saw a lot of Clone Wars flashbacks, and the Clone Wars looked more like a horror show in the flashbacks, which is just not a big surprise because this show is more for mature audience and the Clone Wars was more for children. I know we had some brutal moments in the Clone Wars, but the flashbacks in this show, it looked like a real war. The Clone Wars was a real war where a lot of people, you know, passed away and this and that. So I felt like Ahsoka even had like PTSD in that little flashback, which is not a big surprise because Ahsoka was really young in the Clone Wars, and people sometimes forget how young she was, and she was put in a war, which is obviously not the most responsible thing. And I need to give Hayden Christensen another compliment. His acting was really on point in this episode. A lot of people were complaining when the prequels released that, you know, Hayden Christensen acting wasn't that well done, but it was mostly because of his character. His character needed to be a certain way, and Hayden Christensen, in my opinion, did a great job in Revenge of the Sith. But there were a lot of people that disagreed back in the day, but in this episode he really was like the Clone Wars Anakin we know in the Clone Wars show. I thought he did a great job. He was really likable, and you could just see how much he cared about Ahsoka, and it was such a good moment, honestly. And it just showed that he was just joking around because he really didn't want to face the horrors of war. He obviously was a scarred person as well. To me, the flashbacks were the most important thing of the episode, but the main story was going on as well, but I was just less interested in that overall. I would say the flashbacks were done pretty well. One thing I liked as well, that you can see the growth of Ahsoka in the flashbacks, how she was in the beginning a scared little youngling or Padawan, and then at the end of the flashback she was more mature, which is, you know, a good indicator about what she is now, because she matured a lot, you know, in the time between the end of the Clone Wars and where she is now. I thought they were done pretty well as well. So overall, I really liked the flashbacks. So the flashbacks were gone and Anakin's lightsaber turned red. Something I need to mention, a shot I thought was really cool when Anakin was like walking into the battlefield and you can see him slowly turning into Darth Vader. That was such an epic little moment. I really enjoyed it. Definitely would say this is the best episode of Ahsoka yet, in my opinion. I thought the previous episode 4 was really good as well, but this episode, especially the flashbacks, they are just so good, and every single Clone Wars fan or prequel fan wanted to see Hayden Christensen being the Clone Wars Anakin, and we all got it, and it really didn't disappoint. I just wish it was longer, but honestly that's a good thing. If I say something needs to be longer, I want more content, then you know the creator is doing something really good. Something I do think is gonna happen is a real life Clone Wars show, you know, with Anakin, the aged Hayden Christensen, and maybe, you know, put Obi-Wan in the mix or Ahsoka. You can do a lot of things with that, and seeing the flashbacks, I definitely think it is possible, and it would obviously be really great to see a Clone Wars show in you know, real life. That would honestly be great. But the main story was still about, you know, finding Ezra and going to the other universe. I think that story is fine and is interesting, and I'm definitely gonna watch the other episodes. But for me, the most important thing about this episode was obviously the Anakin flashbacks and the Ahsoka and Anakin, you know, talking. That was just the high point of this episode, in my opinion. The other main story is alright, and I think it's interesting. The next episode is definitely gonna focus on the other universe and, you know, finding Ezra, and I think that could be all interesting. Maybe we're gonna see more of Anakin, because I think the Anakin we saw in the world between worlds could be like a spirit and not a real Anakin, if you know what I mean. I had like a video I just didn't upload where I was talking about, you know, Anakin being the son in the Mortars Clone Wars episodes. If you haven't seen those episodes, they're pretty great, but I didn't feel like this was the real Anakin. I just think it was more like a reflection or a spirit, or maybe something like that, but that was my opinion. When I was making this video, I was thinking about what rating I'm gonna give this episode, and it's kinda hard. I would say the flashbacks, I honestly give them like a 9 out of 10. I wish there was more between Anakin and Ahsoka, more emotional moments, but overall I really enjoyed it. I thought it looked pretty great, like the special effects and everything looked on point. I cannot complain about that. The main story with, you know, finding Ezra and going to the other universe is like a 7 out of 10. I think it's interesting. I like it more than the other Disney shows. It's definitely above average for Disney, and I'm really curious what's gonna happen in the other universe and finding Ezra, and I'm interested in it, but it's not in the same level as the flashbacks and Anakin and Ahsoka. Something I forgot to point out is that the lightsaber battles, I just need to give credit, was done really well. I said in the previous episode, the lightsaber battles definitely got an update compared with other Disney Star Wars movies and shows. They feel more real. I liked the battle between Anakin and Ahsoka. It really feels like the Anakin of episode 3. I thought he did it really well. Hayden Christensen obviously has experience with lightsaber battles because he did 2 movies. You know, I know it's like a long time ago for him, honestly, but I feel like he still knows some stuff. But having said all of that, the most important question I want to ask is, what do you think about this episode? Leave it in the comment section. I really want to know what the Star Wars community honestly thinks about the Ahsoka show and this episode. I feel it's still mixed. I mean, the previous episodes definitely were mixed, but I just think this episode was really well, and the previous one was really done well as well. So I hope the other episodes are gonna be good episodes as well, so we overall have a good show. But having said all of that, I hope you enjoyed this video. Press the like button, subscribe on my channel, and I will see you all in the next one.